Around this time last year, Steam did a pretty good sale to celebrate the Comiket doujin fair in Japan. Unfortunately, they forgot to advertise the fact that this sale was going on at any point, so it passed quite a lot of people by largely unnoticed. Now, thankfully this year the powers that be remembered to put a banner for it on the front page of the Steam store, and like last year there's some great deals available, with savings of up to 75% on these independently developed Japanese titles, many of which weren't particularly expensive in the first place. Here's a selection of games that are worth checking out then. One-Way Heroics is one of the most unusual takes on the roguelike out there, thanks to the addition of one simple mechanic, forced scrolling. Yes, like the most annoying levels in 90s platformers, One-Way Heroics' screen continues to scroll whether you like it or not, meaning that as well as almost everything in the world wanting to kill you, you also need to keep one step ahead of the ever-encroaching darkness. The story concerns the obligatory Demon Lord and his attempts to destroy the world, though those who explore the game in depth will discover there's actually a lot more depth and interest to its story and setting than might be initially apparent. One-Way Heroics has recently been expanded with a Plus version which had new quests and some welcome interface improvements, as shown in the video here. One-Way Heroics Plus is already available on publisher Playism's website, and it's coming to Steam on August the 18th as DLC for the original version, which in the meantime is still a good time. There are 3 Gun Demonium games on Steam: Gun Demonium Recollection, Gun Deadline and Hitogata Happo. All 3 are variants on the bullet hell theme, and all are a great time with challenging gameplay, fantastic music and a ton of personality to them. Be prepared though, these games are not afraid to kick your ass, even on the easiest difficulty level, and if you want to get good at them you're going to have to practice. For that truly authentic arcade feel, grab an arcade stick, spill beer over it, light 15 cigarettes and put them in an ashtray just in front of you, then throw 50p out the window every time you have to restart, which will be quite frequently. Cherry Tree High Comedy Club is what happens if you take all the combat out of Persona 3 and 4. Taking on the role of a young girl who's trying to put together a comedy club at her school, it's up to you to help her develop her conversational skills and convince her classmates that she's really worth hanging out with. The game features a localization by the same team that brought the Ace Attorney series to the West, and it's an interesting case in that it's actually been delocalized since its original launch. Some people didn't like the Americanization of the dialogue and names in the game, a criticism that has been levelled at Ace Attorney a few times as well over the years, so the option is now in there to keep the original Japanese setting and names if you want, although if you prefer the American names you can use those too. The rather dramatically named Crimson Clover World Ignition is an absolutely beautiful arcade-style bullet hell shooter. Like most bullet hell games, it hates you and wants you to die of a heart attack, or so it seems at first anyway. Give it a bit of time though and you'll find a challenging but rewarding and enjoyable game in which your score will happily climb into the billions at a moment's notice. If you're a fan of screen-filling special attacks and so many explosions and pickups that it's difficult to tell what on earth is actually happening at any given moment, you'll probably get along with this one. What could possibly be more fun than punching things? Punching things with an adorably cute fairy girl, of course. Fairy Bloom Freesia is a strange but fun game from Edelweiss. The team have also brought us the spectacular cinematic shoot-em-ups Asterbreed and Ether Vapor Remaster. It's a bit of a punching bag at first, but after a while it starts to show its teeth. And once you've cleared the main story mode, which is charming and silly, there's plenty more to do if you're so inclined. And if nothing else, it makes for some fine stress relief. Unholy Heights is a charming little game that blends elements of management sims with tower defense to create something altogether unique. Taking on the role of the devil, who's decided to try his hand at being a landlord for some inexplicable reason, it's up to you to attract various monsters to your apartment block, then use them to fend off the unwanted advances of the adventurers who come a-knocking time after time. It's a very silly game with a surprising amount of depth. You'll have to manage the monsters you have in your apartment block, provide them with things to keep them happy, command them when they take to the battlefield, and do your best to make as much money as possible from your adventures. I'll level with you here, I have absolutely no idea how to pronounce this one. Crawler or something like that? I don't know. Anyway, pronunciation aside, this is a really fun arcadey brawler in which you hack and slash your way through hordes of enemies as you make your way through a tower and attempt to essentially prove who is best girl. Multiple endings and a host of sadistic challenges make this a hugely addictive little game with a decent amount of depth and technicality to its action-packed combat. It's heavily inspired by Devil May Cry, So if you enjoyed that, then you'll probably get a kick out of this. Now this nasty little game is a fine example of a masochore platformer, in which you most certainly will die repeatedly, usually through what appears to be no fault of your own, but that's actually sort of the point. Despite initially appearing to be an adorable cutesy platformer, Ares Action is actually a very smart puzzle game that encourages you to experiment with its mechanics in the name of pulling off seemingly impossible feats without breaking a sweat. It's hilarious in its viciousness, but it will keep you coming back for just one more try as you see what you're supposed to do, just not quite how you pull it off. From the creators of Demonium comes a Metroidvania-style platformer with some serious teeth. Bunny Must Die is a lovely looking game with a controller-flinging level of difficulty about it, but enough charm to keep you trying again and again, even as it smacks you about and gives you a wedgie. Tricky jumping puzzles and sadistic boss fights abound in this one. Bring your platforming A-game. Now remember, you can't even turn around until you pick up the first power-up in the game. Finally today we have SATA, a rare example of a modern Japanese shoot 'em up that isn't a bullet hell title, instead having more in common with Konami's classic shooters. Despite the lack of screen obscuring bullet patterns, SATA will still give you a good kicking if you're not paying attention. But like the best arcade games of yore, oh is it ever satisfying when you manage to progress even just a little bit further than last time. The games we looked at today are by no means an exhaustive list of everything that's available in Steam's Japanese indie sale right now, but it's a selection of games that are worth giving a shot. Check out the links to the sale in the video description to see the full array of games available, and if you're watching this after August the 18th when the sale ends, know that all of these games are well worth picking up even at full price.